Mr. Nelson, how are you enjoying today's activities?
I'm having a blast. I really am. I love Stocktoncon. This is probably, I think, my 4th time here, and I really enjoy it.
Well, we're glad to hear that you enjoy coming to our events, because we certainly love having you here as a guest. So, we wanted to ask you a little bit first about your visual effects work. Could you tell us about some of the projects that you're well known in?
Okay, well, I worked for about 6 years at LucasArts, helping design and create games there. I was a visual effects supervisor and senior artist, working on a number of games, a lot of Star Wars games like Rebel Assault 2, Dark Forces, Curse of Monkey Island, Shadows of the Empire, Grim Fandango, Rogue Squadron, Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine. I mean, you name it. It was a bunch of the games there. Then I moved over to Industrial Light and Magic, was a compositor, matte painter, rotoscoper, and texture artist there, working on the Star Wars prequels. Worked on Galaxy Quest, Jurassic Park 3, Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, Perfect Storm, Time Machine. Then I left there and took a full-time faculty position at the Academy of Art University, taught there for about 2.5 years, running the visual effects department. And now I'm a freelance visual effects and animation consultant. Worked on a number of films, Race to Witch Mountain, Enchanted, Spiderwick Chronicles, gosh, there's so many I can't even remember. No. Rocky Balboa. Yes, there are effects in a Rocky movie, and it's not to make Stallone look beefier than he actually is. It was a lot of invisible effects. I get called in for a lot of like the 911 calls, where you've got something where it's just, you know, it's a shot that's broken everybody else, and it's like, how do we fix this? How do we do this thing? And you know, I have to be the MacGyver of visual effects, where I have, you know, just, you know, limited resources and, you know, pull off a miracle. So that's what I end up doing. The crazy stuff that if I do my job right, nobody notices I did anything at all. and then I also do stuff for theme parks. I recently worked on the World of Color show for Disney California Adventure. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. It's always nice to be in the presence of somebody with such experience. For many people, working at LucasArts is like a dream. It's people that a lot of people are always looking forward to going and being able to work on set for any of the projects, especially Star Wars films. What was it like for you being able to be on the set for the prequels?
Well, I wasn't on the set for the prequels, because I was actually working post-production at Industrial Light and Magic for that. Okay. But when I was playing Darth Vader, that was for the special edition of the original trilogy. So that was the additional scenes that George decided to add to the original films to kind of bring it up to how he had always envisioned them to be. So he put me in there as Vader for those additional scenes. And that was amazing too. I mean, we shot that on, a lot of it was blue screen stage stuff. We were shooting at Industrial Light and Magic. I almost didn't get a chance to do it because we were scheduled to shoot right at the time that my first child was due to be born. Oh. And, you know, and you can't tell your wife, you know, hey honey, can you hurry up? But fortunately they kept the thing open for me, and my daughter was born 2 weeks early, and I was able to do the special edition. But it was interesting. A lot of the stuff that we shot, you know, it's peppered throughout the original movies there. But there's one scene where Vader is leaving Cloud City and going to his shuttle, which was added in there, and we shot it on a blue screen stage on a platform that was a little bit taller than this table that we're sitting at right now, but not much wider than this. And it was very long, and I have to walk along there, along with some stormtroopers and some Imperial officers. And the thing is, with the Vader mask, you have very limited visibility. You can see directly in front of you through the lens of the mask, or you can see your feet through like the bottom of the breast screen there, and that's about it. So, and you can't look down, you know, you can't keep your head down while you're walking. You know, Vader strides very, you know, tall and keeps his head up. So you have to kind of practice it several times with the mask off, and then do this sort of muscle memory. How many steps can I take before I get to the end of the platform? Or, you know, how far can I go to the left, how far can I go to the right without falling off? So we shot it several times. On the last take, somebody yells, "Cut, don't move." And I was about maybe 6 inches from the end of the table, the end of the platform there. So I don't know if one more step and I would have hit the deck. So I don't know if they were worried about me or the very expensive costume, but I like to think they were worried about me. So.
Okay. That's another thing that I wanted to bring up. You had the opportunity to play as Darth Vader, something that many people would just love to be able to play as him, because he's one of the ultimate villains that everybody remembers. How did you get the opportunity, the chance to be able to play as him?
Well-placed bribes. No, I'm just kidding. No, I had dirt on George. No. No, I was working for LucasArts at the time, and now I had started acting when I was 10 years old. So but I had been interested in visual effects as well, and so that's how I got into LucasArts. But I was sitting at my desk, minding my own business. My phone rings. It's the head of public relations, who doesn't even bother to say hello. She just says, "Hey Andrew, how tall are you?" And it started from there. And they were looking for somebody to play Vader for a special charity event, sort of a meet and greet with with Vader. So for Big Brothers Big Sisters of America. And so I had to try on the costume, and it fit, thankfully. And I thought it was a one-time deal. I would just thank God I had a chance to do it. But they called me back. They called me back for the games, for LucasArts. They called me back for the special edition. They called me back for commercials and TV show appearances. And I eventually ended up playing Vader 70 times over 12 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm told I've spent more time in the official Vader costume than anybody else. I'm not going to argue with Lucasfilm over that.
Besides Star Wars, you've done visual effects work on other projects.
Right.
Would be your work in the Jurassic Park film and Galaxy Quest,
Right.
especially Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, could you tell us a little bit about how it was like working as a visual effects artist for some of those projects?
Yeah, Galaxy Quest was great. It's probably my other than Star Wars, probably my favorite project I've ever worked on, because it's such a great film, and it's an interesting situation. When you work in visual effects, you can work for like 6 months to a year and never know if the film that you're working on is any good, because you see it out of sequence, you see it with no sound, you see your portion of it, and that's about it. Unless you're the visual effects supervisor on it, and then maybe you know a little bit more about it. But a lot of times you don't know anything really about the film you're working on until you see it in a theater or you see it at a company screening. So it was an interesting situation where the studio actually sent us a rough cut of the movie while we were working at ILM. And we looked at the film, we watched it, and we go, "Oh my gosh, this movie is amazing!" And so we were just jazzed to finish it and get it done. And so that was great. And we had just a really good crew of people working on Galaxy Quest, and a lot of those same people moved on over to Jurassic Park 3. So it's fun, but you do a lot of stuff that's like, people don't even realize how many effects there are in a movie. And nowadays, because people will go and they'll see like an Avengers movie, or they'll see a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and they go, "Oh yeah, that's an effects movie." But you don't realize that virtually every film that comes out now is an effects film of one way or another. You look at a film like Social Network, has some very complex effects in it, because you've got one actor playing two characters in there. You've got a film like The King's Speech, which has 400 effect shots in it. And you don't even think about it. You think, well, that's like an historical drama. Yeah, but those buildings don't exist like that anymore, and you got to recreate London of that time period. So things like that. So I've had some interesting projects to work on. When I worked on Spiderwick Chronicles, I had to remove an entire actor from several different shots because they had done a rewrite of the script. They had shot it with the 3 child actors in the film, in the shots there, but they rewrote the script so that one of those characters is somewhere else at the time. That means you've got to remove that actor, you've got to remove their shadows, you've got to remove their reflections on everything they walk past, and it's crazy. And of course, nobody holds the camera still anymore. You've got moving cameras, so you've got the perspective changing every single frame. So it gets a little tricky, but that's the great thing about movie magic. You bust your hump for months, and you're doing crazy stuff that makes you go loco, but you go see it, and it's movie magic.
It's interesting to hear about all the secret little things that have to be worked on in projects, especially the Spiderwick Chronicles. I had no idea that a whole actor had to be removed in so many scenes.
That happened on Phantom Menace. It happened on a lot of things too. On Phantom Menace, there were George did rewrites and then reshot some things, or we would take footage and change it. Like there's a shot at the end of Phantom Menace where Obi-Wan is sort of crouching down low, and Yoda's pacing back and forth in front of him. Obi-Wan had dialogue during that scene originally, and Yoda had different dialogue. So the thing is, to use that footage, you got to stop Obi-Wan from talking. And we had to go in and digitally paint out all his lip movements and everything like that. The only thing that gives it away is you can still see his Adam's apple go up and down a little bit. So
another question that I wanted to ask you, since you've done so much work in LucasArts and in the Star Wars films, I wanted to know what your thoughts are on the new Star Wars films that are coming out.
Well, I enjoyed Force Awakens. It was interesting because I did not work on Force Awakens, and I specifically told everybody that I knew at ILM and my friends that I knew that were working out, like Peter Mayhew, who plays Chewbacca. I told them, don't tell me anything about it, because it would be the first time in a very long time that I could see a Star Wars film as a fan, not as an insider.
Yeah.
So when I finally saw it, I saw it at Industrial Light and Magic at a special Visual Effects Society screening. I enjoyed it. I really did, and it was nice to be able to go in as a fan again and see the film, so I enjoyed it. Now, Rogue One, I loved Rogue One. It's probably my favorite Star Wars film other than Empire Strikes Back. I really, I thought it was an amazing story there, and it's just fantastic. So,
You think you're going to be seeing The Last Jedi when it comes out in theaters?
oh, absolutely. Of course, how can I not?
Glad to hear that. I'm real excited to see it, and I'm glad to know that you're excited to see it as well. For those people out there who are watching this, some of them might have been inspired by your visual effects work, obviously, and they would like to get into the visual effects industry themselves. Do you have any words of advice for those who are just now starting in the industry?
Absolutely. What I would tell people is, I would say, just get out there and do it. Okay, if you want to do something for a living, first of all, get around the people who do it. So if you see somebody like me at a convention, come to a convention, ask questions, okay? Because most people, when they come to I come to a convention like this, and I'm willing to answer questions. Everybody's going to be willing to answer questions like that. Don't say to yourself, oh, well, I don't want to ask this question because they get asked that all the time. That means everybody else got an answer and you didn't. So ask questions, pick people's brains. Immerse yourself in it. If you want to learn more about something, read all the trade publications. When I first wanted to get into visual effects, there were no schools to learn this sort of thing. This was all new territory, that sort of stuff. And so I had to just try to find every little bits of information I could find, and the internet didn't exist either. Yeah, I'm older than I look. You start piecing things together. You immerse yourself in it, and just live it and breathe it, and then get out there and do it. Practice it. If you want to learn a particular piece of software, look and see if it's available through a college course, or see if there's like a crippleware version online where you get like a version of it where, yeah, you can do the software, but when you render it out, it's got like a big red X, but it gives you a chance to use the software, or a 30-day trial or something like that. Mm-hmm. So get out there and do it. Work together with other people who want to do these things. Get your work somewhere where it can be seen. Put it on YouTube, put it on Vimeo, put it somewhere so that people can see it. Enter film festivals and contests, whatever you can. Just get out there and do it. And then keep working at it. Build a portfolio, build a resume, and learn who you are as an artist or a performer or whatever it is you want to do. So get to know who you are, because there are a lot of people who have something, they can be very passionate about something, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's where their talent lies. Anybody who's ever watched American Idol knows that, because there are those who are very talented and very passionate, and there are those who are very passionate and not so talented. Yeah. And but we like to watch the train wrecks on TV. But know who you are, learn what you're good at, learn what your talents are, and then equip your talents to be used for what they were intended to be used for. Mm-hmm. So get the information you need. And just keep doing it and keep working at it. And also, you're going to knock on a lot of doors, and you're going to get a lot of people saying no, but eventually you'll get a yes. I can promise you that. You will get a yes eventually. It may not be the yes that you had hoped for. It may be a yes that leads to a yes that leads to where you wanted to go, or maybe a yes that takes you even further than you ever hoped to be. Mm-hmm. But that you will find that yes out there. And also, if you're a student or something, internships. Internships are gold, because it gets you inside a company and you get to learn how that company works, and you learn their way of doing things. Even if you're just making copies and getting coffee or something like that, it helps, so that later on when you want to get hired there, they will 9 times out of 10 they will hire back an intern rather than somebody from outside, because you already know how they do things. You know their company culture, and I've seen that happen time and time again. And also, just don't be afraid to ask for what you want, and don't be afraid to get out there and put yourself out on the line. There's so many people who are too embarrassed to go out on stage or get in front of a camera or show their artwork to somebody. If somebody doesn't like it, fine. To each their own. You move on to the next thing. Don't worry about it. But also be willing to take criticism too. Good constructive criticism. And seek it out. And find out what people think of your work. People, maybe they're not necessarily people who work in the industry, but people who are going to give you a straight, honest answer. Don't go to your mom if your mom's going to go, oh, my baby, that's wonderful what you did, and put it up on the refrigerator, that kind of thing, like when you were a little kid. So, but, that's what you got to do. You just have to be relentless about it.
You heard it first, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get into the visual effects industry, do not hesitate. Practice as much as you can and be sure to reach out to whoever you can. And eventually...
Like Galaxy Quest, never give up, never surrender.
Is there any social media that people can reach you by?
Sure, you can find me on Facebook. I'm C. Andrew Nelson on Facebook. You can also find me at candrewnelson.com, which will show you where I'm going to be at and what I'm working on. I'm also on YouTube, but it's kind of a little bit different. I have a YouTube channel that has really not anything to do with visual effects or acting. It's about tropical fish, because that's my hobby that keeps me sane. It's called Aquatasy, Aquatasy. But I do use visual effects and animation and comedy and stuff like that in my videos there, so you can check that out as well. I'm also starting a YouTube channel, C. Andrew Nelson on YouTube as well, and then you can find Aquatasy on Instagram as well. So I'm all over the place.